Have you ever wondered if humanity really set foot on the moon, or if the Apollo missions were nothing more than an elaborate show for the world? On July 20th, 1969, millions of people watched in awe as Neil Armstrong took that famous first step. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But for decades, a shadow has followed this achievement, a controversy so deep, it refuses to fade. Was the Apollo program a triumph of human courage and technology, or the greatest hoax in history? Let's go back to the late 1960s. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in the Cold War, a battle not fought with guns, but with science, technology, and prestige. The Soviets had taken the early lead in space. First satellite, first man in orbit. America desperately needed a victory. And when President John F. Kennedy promised to land a man on the moon before the decade was out, it set the stage for one of the most ambitious undertakings in human history. But some people believe this promise came with a problem. What if America couldn't deliver? What if the technology simply wasn't ready? According to conspiracy theorists, the solution was simple: fake it. So, what exactly fuels the Apollo controversy? Let's break down the most famous claims. First, the waving flag. In the videos, the American flag seems to ripple as if caught in a breeze. But the moon has no atmosphere, no wind. Skeptics argue this was proof of a studio setup here on Earth. NASA explains it differently. The flag wasn't waving from air, but from the movement of the pole as the astronauts planted it into the ground. With no air resistance, the motion took longer to settle, giving the illusion of a flutter. Second, the strange lighting and shadows. In several photos, shadows fall in different directions, almost as if multiple light sources were used. To conspiracy believers, this screams Hollywood stage lighting. NASA insists the explanation is simple. The moon's uneven surface causes shadows to bend, stretch, and distort, and the only light source was the sun itself. Third, the absence of stars. In the photos taken on the moon, the black sky appears completely empty. Shouldn't stars be visible without an atmosphere? Skeptics saw this as undeniable proof of a fake backdrop. NASA, however, explains that the camera settings used for daylight on the moon simply weren't sensitive enough to capture the faint light of stars. The bright surface and suits drowned them out, just like how you can see stars at noon on Earth. And then there's the claim of identical backgrounds. In some Apollo images, hills and rocks appear strangely similar, even though NASA said they were taken miles apart. To some, this looks like the same set being reused. To others, it's just the moon's barren, repetitive terrain playing tricks on the eye. The most extreme theory, that director Stanley Kubrick was secretly hired to film the moon landings after creating the realistic space visuals in his movie 2001, A Space Odyssey. It's a wild idea, but it has remained one of the most popular what-ifs in this controversy. But what about the evidence that NASA did go? Supporters argue the Apollo missions left behind far too much proof to ignore. Thousands of scientists, engineers, and workers were involved. Could they all have stayed silent for over 50 years? The Apollo astronauts also brought back 382 kilograms of moon rock. Unlike any rock found on Earth, and if you point a powerful enough laser at specific points on the moon, you can still bounce signals off the retroreflectors that Apollo astronauts placed there. Then there's the undeniable fact that the Soviets, America's rivals, tracked the missions in real time. If the landings were faked, wouldn't the USSR have exposed it immediately? And yet, the controversy survives. Why? Because humans love mysteries. For some, questioning the moon landing isn't about science. It's about distrust of governments, of institutions, of official stories. The Apollo controversy feeds into a deeper question. How much of what we're told can we truly believe? So, was Apollo humanity's proudest moment? rocket, or the most elaborate illusion of the 20th century, NASA says the evidence is overwhelming. Conspiracy theorists say the inconsistencies are too great to ignore. Perhaps the truth depends not on the facts alone, but on what you choose to believe. One thing is certain: the Apollo controversy has ensured that our journey to the moon will never be seen the same way again. And so, the Apollo missions remain caught between triumph and doubt. History's greatest leap, or its greatest illusion. Maybe the truth lies somewhere beyond what we see, waiting among the stars. This is Stardust Stories. Until next time, keep questioning, keep imagining, and never stop looking up.